All right. Today we're very, very lucky to be sitting with absolute legend of music, John Rowles. And it's sort of daunting being the interviewee, because when you do a bit of history on you, John, and research a little bit about you, there's so much to read, and I'm baffled at where to start.
I've been a lot of places, yeah.
So let's start right back from the start and tell us about those early days and where you got your inspiration from.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Bay of Plenty of New Zealand, Kawerau. It's a place called Kawerau. It's a lovely little sleepy little town. And I was always, through my schooling, very ambitious. You know, I've always wanted to go around the world and that. And so I started in Auckland, New Zealand, drove up there on my little prefect. And I started there. And then not long after, me and a guy called Eddie Lowe, who's a very good country singer, and we went to Melbourne to the Riverside Inn. It was a nightclub. We were chosen by a couple of talent scouts we had a band, but they said, well, we can't take the band. We'd like you to. So we had to break the band up. And Eddie and I went to
was that hard to
Melbourne. Well, I mean, it was a matter of choice, decision.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to do because all the rest of the band hated us, but went to Melbourne, the Riverside Inn, and we were very successful there. And cut a long story short, we went from Melbourne to Sydney, and we were walking around the streets of King's Cross, and trying to get a show, trying to get a gig, and we were pretty good, may I say, we were pretty good as the harmonies, and so everywhere we went, they hired us because we were pretty good at doing the Beatles songs and Gene Pitney's and all the classic songs in those days. Yeah. Then eventually, Eddie and I split up. I went solo, and I was taken to London by Peter Gormley and the Shadows Management. Cliff Richard's management.
Yeah, Cliff Richard.
And they took me to London, and they set me up beautifully, and that was where I had my first hit record, If I Only Had Time, which creeped up the charts all the way to number 2. I almost got to number 1, but for some reason Louis Armstrong came out with that It's a Wonderful World. Oh. And I was waking up the next morning to see myself going to number 1, but he chopped me off, so I couldn't have been cut off by a better man, really.
Well, you're in good company, absolutely.
So I had to settle for number 2, and I was happy with that, but it got me lots of work and around Europe, and Las Vegas, Flamingo Hotel I headlined, New York I headlined in the Persian room. Of course, things have changed now, but I went all over, Lake Tahoe, Las Vegas, everywhere as a solo artist, back here to Australia and to New Zealand, and I went all over the globe. Yeah. So basically that's the story, and along the way I recorded Cheryl Moana Marie, If I Only Had Time, Hush Not a Word to Mary. One day I had a lot of chart
huge
stoppers,
Yeah, absolutely huge.
And then I ended up in Hawaii, which I love. Hawaii is my favorite place in the world.
Apart from the Gold Coast.
Hawaii and the Gold Coast have always been my favorite 2 places. And I was headlining at the Royal Hawaiian Monarch Room. The Monarch Room, a beautiful location centered right in the middle of Waikiki. The King Kamehameha, the King's Palace. The Monarch Room, I headlined there for about 10 years. 2 shows a night, 6 nights a week. Ooh. That was quite straining, but it happened and it worked, and here I am at the beautiful Currumbin RSL.
In the Spirit Den.
That's it. The best little club in the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we didn't pay you to say that.
No, you didn't pay me. I just have got a good feeling for this place.
Now, just going back to that rigorous timeline that you had, and doing 2 shows a night and things like that. Did it ever take its toll on your voice or your body or your mental condition or anything like that? Because that's a lot of shows.
Not physically or mentally, because I was pretty young then. I was like 23, 24. So you're out there, you know, going. Who cares about how many shows you're doing, you know? But it got me fatigued a bit, you know, and mentally.
Yeah.
Got me fatigued that I thought, oh God, how long am I going to be doing this? You know what I'm saying? So I left and I went to Los Angeles and did other things, you know. But fatigue set in, yeah, that was the only bad part. Because you're doing the same thing every night, 2 times a night, every night. The songs, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you start thinking, I remember sitting in the bathtub and saying, wow, I've got to do something else, you know, because I was there a long time, two shows a night.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I guess singing those songs, but I imagine the audience on every occasion would have just fed off the audience.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, the Currumbin RSL was a massive hit in Hawaii, and in fact, it's played every 2 minutes on every station, and it's like that's what they wanted to hear. But on my side, it was like, you know, the same thing every night. It was a bit struggling there. Yeah, mentally.
And you've been on stage with, you know, like some huge names. I mean, you mentioned one before, Cliff Richard.
Yeah.
Bob Hope was another, and so tell us a bit more about those experiences, because that's, you know, they're legends in themselves, and it's would be absolutely phenomenal.
Peter Gormley put me on, because he managed Cliff, put me on the Cliff Richard and the Shadow Show in London. And Bob Hope, Peter Gormley took me to Las Vegas, and Bob Hope was in Las Vegas at the time. I was co-starring with Connie Stevens. And Bob Hope was they were good friends, so they're the American side of it, you know. They used to come along to the show, and Elvis was there, and Elvis was supposed to show up, but he didn't show up. we put on a late show, 3 in the morning, but Elvis didn't show up, so whatever, because he was probably gearing up for his new show at the Hilton, the big comeback show, you know. Bob Hope took me to Houston, Texas, on David, the Fugitive, whatever, I can't remember his name. David, he was the Fugitive, the TV series.
Yeah.
David Jensen. David Jensen, and we were on the plane on the way to Houston, and I was fairly green at those years. I was pretty naive, you know, and Bob Hope came and sat next to me, and I didn't know what to say to him, you know. It's like, oh, Mr. Hope, look at those beautiful islands down there. I was on the plane, and he says, do you like them, kid? They belong to me. Which I checked later, and they did. He owned these big islands, you know, outside of Los Angeles.
Wow.
And when we got to Houston, obviously, the show, every big actor and every big name was on the show. This was back in 1969. And then one thing led to another from there, and I went to somewhere else after that. So I've basically lived out of a suitcase most of my life.
Wow. Because I did notice, because you were recently on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh yes, in New Zealand. Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Because that's a bit of a strange, strange opportunity to come up.
Yeah, I did Dancing with the Stars. They approached me, and I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And I thought to myself, what the hell what did I get into there? Because it's not easy. You know,
No.
It's very, very difficult.
It's very hard.
And I was like 62 at the time, and like I had this 21-year-old dancer as my partner. She was my coach, you know. And I remember that, she said to the judges that I was 62, and I went, who's 62? I'm not 62, because I was still trying, you know, trying to do that. But then again, I just sort of, I pulled out of it because I had a little bit of a health problem at the time. And I've got my 2 beautiful sons, Dane and Blake, and they were pretty young at the time, and I didn't want to take any risk, but I went to get checked out, and I was perfectly fine. So I probably should have kept on, but I was a bit worried about that. So I only lasted 2 episodes. And remember, I only lasted 2 episodes because I was 62 and she was 22. She nearly killed me.
I bet. So looking forward to this Saturday night. It's a dinner and show here at the club. What can the audience expect?
Oh, well, I try to keep it for my followers. I try to keep it simple. I mean, when I say simple, I do the songs that they've grown up with me. You know, the Cheryl Monomerys, the Tanias, a little bit of Maori content in there, and I try to keep it sort of friendly and nice and intimate.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's from our point of view, it's going to be an up close and personal.
Yeah, it's like I try to
John
keep it
Rowles,
relaxing and just fun. You know, no set program. Just keep it fun, but at the same time, there has to be a set program for about an hour and a half. You know, because I find it very difficult to do less than an hour and a half. So Carmen might get mad at me and pull me off on with a hook.
No, never.
No, not at all. And judging by the engagement we're getting on social media, people are so looking forward to this performance. And I think it's not only because you're an absolute legend; it's because it's an opportunity to be up close and personal with you. And I think that's really resonating with people. And I was sort of thinking, because you've been in the industry for so long. I don't want to say exactly how long, but you know, it'd be fair to say it's a while.
Yeah, but probably about 3 years or something like that.
Yeah. What do you think's been the most significant change in that time in the industry?
Oh, I don't know. The change in the music, you mean? Well, in my day, when we were discovered, I think it was sort of I guess you could say a star was born at that time. But now it's totally different. But it's still good, you know. The opportunities that young kids get and all that. It's still good, but it's probably a star is made today. Yeah. You know, as you see these talent shows, you know, everybody and their next door neighbours on them, and if they can come through and sing, then it's good. But majority of them shouldn't really be singing, you know, or doing anything for that matter.
So true. And it reminded me of a question that's just popped out of my head, but I was, you know, for me, your voice reminds me a lot of Tom Jones.
Yeah, Tom Jones, a great singer.
Yeah.
He was actually a big influence to me in those years, you know, because they came along first. Unfortunately, I was the last to come along. It was Tom and then Engelbert and me and Solomon King were the sort of last ones to come along. But that was a great era, and I was lucky that I slipped right in there with those big ballads, you know.
Absolutely.
I got very, very lucky there. The timing, everything's timing. You know, everything's timing.
Timing is everything. And now, you know, just referring back to Tom, you know, he obviously had knickers thrown at him. Did you ever have anything strange thrown at you?
Only bloomers.
A few punches.
Only bloomers. No nice bikini knickers. No. Unfortunately, but that's all right. I got a room full of them at home in the garage.
Now, you mentioned Hawaii before, and I read up that you split your pants once.
Oh yeah, I did that along with
Hawaii.
PJ Proby in that era. I split my pants in a nightclub in Hawaii, and I just couldn't move because I knew it was split, and I just had to sit there. Sit on the stool all night, and they go, well, can't he get off the stool? Well, I couldn't because my pants were split. It's a velvet pants, you know. Yeah, you got easily split.
So was it
I couldn't get off the stage.
Early in the show, or was it?
Sort of halfway through.
Oh, so it's awkward. Oh dear. All right. So I was just thinking, again, referring back to your length in the industry. What's the one memory that really stands out for you, or hasn't happened yet?
Was that an earthquake?
Oh, it's the spirit then.
Spirit. Must be an awkward question. No, my greatest moment was flying back from when I achieved from Kawarau, the small Bay of Plenty town, and within a couple of years I was in England, London, and I was recording with Norrie Paramore and Mike Leander and all these great musical people. And then I came up with a funnier time, and then I came back to New Zealand, flying into my little country, my special corner of the world. And they were playing the song, and the airport had hundreds of people there, thousands of people. I think that was a touching moment for me. Achieving my first big hit record in internationally.
Yeah.
I think that was the best moment for me.
How do you describe that?
I just sort of stood there and started crying, just the whole thing about it, the aura,
Yeah.
Very moving.
I bet. So yeah, John, you're here this Saturday coming.
Yes.
It's a dinner and show here at the Currumbin RSL. Now I think there's a few tickets left.
Yep, still got a few tickets left.
So
I'll buy them myself.
so I encourage listeners or watchers to snap up those tickets, because it's going to be an opportunity you won't probably see very often, and it's up close and personal with the man himself, Mr John Rowles.
Thank you, good.
Thank you
Very much.